Today on Rappler, Senator Sonny Trillanes files a plunder complaint against presidential frontrunner Rudy Duterte. Homegrown church Iglesia ni Cristo officially endorses Rudy Duterte and Bongbong Marcos. And the Iglesia ni Cristo wages a silent war against former Justice Secretary Leila de Lima. Hello and welcome. I'm Cheche Lazaro. We come to you live from the Rappler News Center. This is your top of the hour update in the run-up to the 2016 Philippine elections. Senator Antonio Trillanes files a plunder complaint against Davao City Mayor Rodrigo Duterte before the Office of the Ombudsman Thursday. Trillanes says the alleged 2.4 billion pesos worth of deposits to Duterte's account may be from ghost employees. He cites a 2015 Commission on Audit report showing there were more than 11,000 contractual workers in 2014.
So, meron kami nakita. Ito yung kanyang ghost employees. 11,000 contractual employees na ang budget nito ay 708 million pesos a year. 708 million pesos a year. So, dito natin makikita na yung hypocrisy ni Mayor Duterte na sinasabi niya yung contractualization, yung endo must stop, STOP. Pero kita nyo rito, since ilang years na, 12 years, yung mga contractuals niya. Pero ang masama nito, ito, mga hindi tunay na tao.
It's official. Homegrown church Iglesia ni Cristo endorses Davao City Mayor Rudy Duterte for president and Senator Bongbong Marcos for vice president. The INC is expected to announce its candidates at worship service Wednesday night. The tandem is in a sample ballot obtained by Rappler. The INC leadership reminds its members to stick to these choices when casting their votes. Days earlier, the INC disowned a letter supposedly from INC leader Eduardo Manalo telling members to support Duterte's presidency. The INC leadership said it would file a case against the person behind the fake letter. Recently, the INC also fended off rumors it was endorsing the vice presidential bid of Marcos. The church usually announces its choices a few days before the elections. The religious group is known for voting as a bloc. Is the Iglesia ni Cristo campaigning against senatorial candidate Leila de Lima? Sources in the Liberal Party says INC leaders reportedly demanded that local candidates remove de Lima from their sample ballots in exchange for the sect's coveted endorsement. De Lima was not in the INC sample ballot distributed to its members. Last August, De Lima had a run-in with the church after expelled minister Isaias Samson Jr. filed an illegal detention case against INC leaders. De Lima, who was Justice Secretary that time, said she would pursue the case, which the INC regarded as meddling in its affairs. De Lima announced her senatorial bid at the time, which INC members vowed to block. Davao Mayor Rudy Duterte leads over his rivals in the latest standard poll. The survey was conducted in the same week his alleged unexplained wealth hit the headlines. Duterte gets 32% compared to Senator Grace Poe's 25% and administration bet Mar Rojas's 22%. Poe and Rojas are statistically tied with a 1.8 margin of error. Binay lands at fourth place with 15%. Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago has 2%. In Cagayan de Oro City, it's a three-way fight for the mayoral race. In the face-off are re-electionist Oscar Moreno, incumbent Representative Rufus Rodriguez, and former Mayor Vicente Yap Emano. Moreno first became mayor in May 2013 after beating then-incumbent Emano, who was also mayor for 1998 to 2007. Rodriguez is the congressman for Cagayan de Oro's 2nd District and a co-author of the controversial Bangsamoro Basic Law. Cagayan de Oro City is the 2nd highest ranking urban area in southern Philippines. It is also one of the fastest growing in Mindanao. And that's the top of the hour update. I'm Cheche Lazaro. Joining us tonight is Aika Robredo, daughter of Vice Presidential candidate Leni Robredo. Good evening, Aika. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure. We're getting to the finish line in just a couple of days,
Yes,
right?
4 days.
4 days to be exact. What are your thoughts?
Some days I wake up excited. We've been preparing for this since October last year. But sometimes you wake up also a little worried, thinking if there's not enough time to catch up. So we're a bit happy that finally my mom got 30% in the recent Pulse Asia survey. It's very encouraging for us to just go on and wait for election day.
You know, your mom, during the campaign, often talked about how the three of you moved from vehement objectors to now full supporters. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
My mother is very non-confrontational. I think people would expect that she would often mention this at home. But in reality, maybe we only talked about it twice or thrice. The first time she mentioned it, she said, the VP position is being formally offered to me. I just ask you to think about it. I think that was the opposite no. And then the second time she brought it up, she said, I feel in my heart that this might be something I need to do. So that was maybe 3/4 no and 1/4 let's see. But when she asked for an answer then and there, we were all in agreement that we wouldn't let her. I think it boiled down to thinking which decision we would all be most at peace with.
Was there a lot of gnashing of teeth, of crying?
No? Crying, yes. One time with a spiritual advisor, Father Manoling Francisco. We had one.
Why did you shed tears? What were you crying about?
I think we were all trying to process why it should be a yes or why it should be a no. And then he was saying something like, this is your mother's chance to finally be your own person. She'd been known for being Leni Robredo and not just as a widow of Jesse. And then he asked us, are you saying no because you're afraid? Or are you saying yes because of something else?
And what was the answer?
I think eventually we all figured out it would be a yes. It would be a no for our own convenience. If we were only thinking of ourselves, the easy answer would be a no. We're very comfortable where we are now. The easiest way for us is to go for re-election. The VP, the national election is very different from local. But also we knew in our hearts also if my father was still here, he would tell us to support our mother.
But you've been in politics, or half of you have been in politics because your dad was in politics.
I was born 6 days before his first election as city mayor.
Oh.
So all our lives, actually,
Yes.
I think my parents were in politics. I think local elections are very different. It's something we're all used to.
Yes. But is it true that you either love politics or have developed such a hate for it?
I think we're somewhere in between. I don't know if it's because we've all gotten used to it by now. But with my dad before, kasi we would only help him out during elections. Then we'd have our separate lives after. That has always been the arrangement, even when my mom ran for Congress. So probably the same this time around, except that the scope is much bigger than what we've been all used to.
You know, you always hear when you interview people, families who were forced into politics, that the invasion of privacy is one of the biggest concerns that they have. How have you been able to keep your privacy? Because your mom always speaks of your home being sacred and that you never had people coming in and occupying your house?
Right now we live in a condo, so we can't really entertain guests in the lobby. They all go to Congress in my mom's office. In Naga, while my dad was still mayor, when people would go to our house, he would bring them with him to City Hall. So parang they know that if they go, they won't be able to get anything from him. When my mom became congresswoman, we were all living in Manila. So she was only in Naga for 3 days a week.
Uh-huh.
So parang we never felt that it was an invasion of privacy. In Naga naman, even when my dad was still mayor, when we'd go around, people knew who he was. Pero parang I didn't feel naman na privacy was violated. I don't know.
Okay, how do you keep your head screwed on the right way? Because many people develop bloated egos, think that they are, the world owes them a living after a while. How do you keep the equilibrium?
Well, I think it's because of my mother also. She would regularly remind us she would regularly assess, pareho pa ba tayo who we were yesterday and the days before, even the riding the bus home to Naga. Sometimes it's more convenient to take the plane, but she would always insist on taking the bus. She said, if you've gotten used to a different lifestyle, different from how you used to live your life before, once you get stripped out of the privileges, it's something you will look for later on. So
Don't you think that might happen? I mean, if your mom does win and she'll be thrust into the national limelight as vice president, isn't that bound to happen?
Hopefully not. Kasi parang my dad was mayor for 18 years, DILG secretary for maybe 2.5. My mom, congresswoman for 3 years. I think we're still the same. So that if she wins on Monday, that's just six more years. That's nothing compared to maybe 24 years in politics.
Yes. How you have been on the campaign trail, and sometimes you do substitute for your mom. How has it been? What's your experience?
It's both overwhelming and humbling. Usually you go to a place thinking, nakakahiya, hassle, all these people have been waiting for you.
Yeah.
Tapos when you go there, you feel appreciated na, they've been waiting for you for hours, and then magpakita ka lang, you shake their hands and they're happy.
Were you nervous the first time you had to
Yes.
give a campaign speech?
Although naman, every election time, that's something we're all expected to do.
So you've had practice.
Yes, I think during campaign season, I forget that I'm a shy person deep inside. like when my sisters, when they get asked to dance, you see them dancing, but no, I think on a normal day they won't. Para I think eyes always on the bigger prize. So
Okay. What's been the biggest challenge in the campaign trail?
so far, my most nervous moment in the campaign trail was introducing the president. I keep forgetting, what if I say, ang susunod na magsasalita, and then I forget his name. I think
Has
every
that
time,
happened? Have you forgotten his
one
name?
time, his name is always on the index card I
Yes.
have with me in case I forget it. I think so far, that's my
Okay.
most nervous. Parang of all the dancing, all the public speaking. That's the one thing I dread.
What has been the most unforgettable sortie that you've been on?
Most unforgettable, I think sometime October, November. My mom got invited in Cagayan de Oro. They have an organization called Widows of the Lord. It's a church group with all the widows. She asked me to represent her. Parang weird, diba? So, I was expecting it was a serious event with a lot of reflections and ano. So, the priest met with me outside the conference hall. So parang I was very serious. Sabi ko, "Hi, Father. Thank you for inviting my mom. Sorry, she couldn't be here." And then when I entered, it was a beauty pageant of all the widow lolas in Cagayan de Oro. But,
Okay.
I think that's my most unforgettable campaign event to date.
Okay. The most touching encounter with supporters of your mom.
The most touching encounter.
I understand your sister
Yes.
met with the Sumilaw farmers.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Last Wednesday. The Sumilaw story, it has a very special place, I think, in my family's heart. when they marched in 2007, I was a senior college student at Ateneo. My mom was a volunteer lawyer in Saligan. My dad welcomed them in Naga. So I think while they were both busy, they were telling my sisters the story of the Sumida farmers. I think in the campaign trail, every now and then you get surprised and you ask yourself, why are all these people exerting their time and effort to help you campaign for your mom? And the Sumila farmers especially, volunteering to walk again from Bukidnon to Manila. So parang in a way, you're very grateful. At the same time, there's pressure in a sense na you can't fail them, you can't disappoint them. If my mom wins, she really needs to do something about them and the cause they represent. Parang it's a mixture of both. Parang you're overwhelmed that they're doing it for you. At the same time, you're a little afraid if you'd be able to live up to what they're doing for you.
What has been the guiding principle of this campaign for you? Aside from garnering votes, why is your mom in it for the win?
From the start, we've all seen this as a people's campaign. From the start, I think our biggest problem was how to raise funds. But a lot of people have been approaching us, even from the start. They would throw all these different activities, all the fundraisers, all the lugaw for Leni. You see all the lolas buying 500 peso worth of lugaw. Sometimes you go to different rallies and people would just hand you envelopes. Initially, I thought it was one of those mga solicitation letters for the usual barangay tournaments. But sometimes it has maybe 200 pesos with a short note saying, I hope this helps your mom. But things like that inspire you, and then some days you think, nako, where do I get money kaya for ads the next month? And then sabi nga yun, diba, God will provide. So every na, yeah, so far enough I hope for Monday.
Yeah.
Pero parang especially when my mom was still at 1%. Parang if you're an investor, kumbaga, from the business side, why would you invest on someone with a
1%?
very low chance of winning?
Yeah. Did you ever think when she was at 1% that she would hit 30?
Maybe not 30 the number, but I've always felt that she could win this race. I've always trusted my mother's gut in a lot of things. Even during the campaign, there were a lot of times when she and I would disagree on some decisions, but most of the time she would turn out to be right. So her gut and her instinct is something I don't question. When she told us she felt she was being called to run, I knew she knew in her heart that she had a good chance of winning this.
What is it about your mom's gut that makes it special?
Ever since kasi when my dad was in a gray area, the one person he would consult would be my mom. Parang for her, everything was clear. Everything is black and white. So every time we all feel like we're in a gray area. She's one person you'd always consult. Especially her first impression on people are usually very accurate. Parang when my dad would introduce her to people he has worked with, sometimes after she would say, I don't like the guy in red or the guy in purple that you introduced earlier. And later on, she would turn out to be right.
Really? Her thin slicing is accurate?
Yes.
Razor sharp?
I hope it's still as accurate now.
Does she do that to your boyfriends and to the people who are running after you, the three of you?
To everyone, to our friends, to everyone.
So it's scary. It's a scary proposition to be thin sliced by Leni Robredo.
But she's nice. She's a nice person. I think she would only tell you na she doesn't like so and so if talaga strong feelings against them.
As you know, in politics, no one's going to come out without any marks of being hit and being criticized.
True.
So far, your mom has remained fairly unscathed in this whole campaign.
We
Why?
had our share of black propaganda here or there, but
What's the worst?
the funniest, I think, it would have to be the 700,000 peso bed.
Okay, where did that come from?
We don't know. It's online, some tabloid, I think, or online. But I think we've had our worst parang I'll tell you one story. When my dad ran for mayor, I think in 92 or 95, they had the local debate in one of our plazas. And then I forgot he was running against Pero the other guy,
Anyway, that guy lost.
yeah, that guy lost. had three envelopes. He said the names inside the envelopes are women your dad has been seeing behind your mother's back. Yung mga ganun. So parang feeling ko we've had worse news before. We have worse black propaganda before than now. And I think my mom has been through worse also for her to be affected with all the black propaganda going around.
Okay. Despite you're saying that your mom has very good thin slicing abilities and she's a good person, she seems like a very strong, determined woman.
Mm-hmm.
What makes her strong and determined?
But I feel kasi that she's been like that ever since. She would always tell us, the one thing she would always tell us is that the one person you should only depend on yourself. No, parang you do not depend on others for your happiness, for your success. It's all up to you. Pero siya, even before, even when my dad was still mayor, was DILG secretary, I think the one strength my mom had was she always knew her place. During the moments when she did not need to make an appearance, she was okay where she was. Now that my dad is not around anymore, parang she's continuing the voice of my father. Now is a good time for her to speak up and be heard. Parang she always know when to speak up, when not to, when to keep her mouth shut.
What impact has it had on the three of you now that, I mean, there are really just four of you,
Yes.
right, with your mom? Now that you're nearing a possible win on Monday, what do you see happening after Monday? If you win, if she wins.
I think we'll all be nicer people in general. Kasi I'll tell you different stories. Sometimes you'd go to far places and then people would tell you na, you know, nung DILG pa yung tatay mo, nabisita niya kami dito, he did this and this for us. So parang when my father died, I felt that he left us a lot of goodwill. Na it's our turn to give it back. Even the story of the Sumilao farmers, who would expect them to walk back to Manila again? And many other stories. Like when we'd go house to house in some resettlement site in Manila, they would tell us, kung hindi dahil sa tatay mo, siguro wala na kaming mga bahay ngayon. So parang we couldn't imagine how my dad was able to do it before without us knowing what he has done.
Your dad never shared these things with you?
Not some, but like not every day na I helped this and this today, and then tomorrow I'm going to Tawi-Tawi to visit this and this mayor. Parang we all felt na he had his own thing, we had ours.
Yeah. When you were growing up, Aika, were you aware that your dad was a politician?
I felt na, parang, you have a classmate whose dad is a doctor.
Yes.
Another classmate whose dad is a dentist. So,
Yes.
I felt that, my dad's job is a mayor. Parang occupation lang yung tingin ko sa kanya
So you had
before.
no sense of how people loved him or how he was admired? Nothing of this?
Not really.
Did you have a normal growing up history?
I would like to think so. I think it's the only life I know. Parang if you're born into the first 9 years of my life, he was mayor. He stopped for 3 years and then became mayor again for another 9 years. Parang that's the only life I know. I think I'd like to believe it's normal.
Will life change
Hopefully
if your
not.
mom becomes vice president?
Hopefully not. That has always been our agreement. We pitch in during campaign season, but afterwards we
Go
have our
back.
own lives. Yeah.
Go back to normal. What is the harshest, most hurting comment that you've heard in this campaign?
That if my dad were alive, he'd be disappointed at my mom. And I think other people claim that they know my dad better than all of us. I think that's the worst they can say about him and her.
What's the source of that campaign that he would be disappointed, of that line that he'd be disappointed?
It started with, actually even before the campaign, that was one of the things, when my mom pushed for BBL, it was one of the Facebook comments that came up.
Okay.
And then during this campaign, I suppose when they don't agree on something, when they don't agree with her, that's what
Yes.
they end up saying.
Do you follow social media?
Yes, I try. I know I have to avoid it, but sometimes I monitor for my mom.
Okay, and how does that make you feel? I mean, it's a wide open space where anybody can say anything.
You know, at this point, parang I'm not. I think I'm a bit immune already to all the negative posts. I think my mom has been running a positive campaign. Even the campaign team, they're always upbeat and positive. Parang when you see something negative, you just flag it, and then. But I think we all know naman na what is true, what is not true, what is just being made up. So
Okay, so what is the best thing that you've heard, that or you've read in social media about your mom?
that's hard. That's a hard question.
All
to
right, let's
answer.
change it. So what is the best thing about your mom?
That she's always sure of who she is.
And who is she?
My mom kasi, her level of self-awareness is super high. Para she's aware of her limitations. She's aware of her own vulnerabilities. And I think if you're aware of your own shortcomings, you would know when you're being tempted to do this and that. You would know when you should take a step back or you might be crossing a line. I think that's very important.
Thank you very much, Aika. Thank you for the insights on your mom, and we wish you well as you face the finish line. Yeah?
Thank you, former days. Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much. That's our interview with Aika Robredo. Join us again for the 8 p.m. top of the hour with Maria Ressa. Good night.